get some
So many
burpee
push-ups.
action going on here.
Boys, get those triceps going.
So first off, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Feeling a whole lot better than over the the last few days have been a bit rough. But
You sound
I'm
better.
definitely feeling a whole lot better now.
Good. I'm there for a little
Oh,
while.
dude, I was dumb as a brick for a couple of days there.
You
I
did
mean,
pretty well, though,
maybe nobody noticed. I don't know, but man, I was like 11 out of 10 on everything that I was doing, and it felt like a 4 out of 10.
I think you're doing pretty well.
I was doing okay, but I was feeling it.
Yeah.
I was feeling the burn rate.
No doubt. Yuri, man,
Hey,
what's
buddy,
up?
how you doing?
Hello, my friends.
Good, man.
Doing good.
To see you. And there's Zach. Boom, that bag coming in.
Oh, all freshly shaven.
I am not. I got this nice.
Me too.
Wow, it's like your brother from. It's like your 10 years younger brother, Zach.
It really does. Someone said that the other day too.
Wow, like, are you still in high school, or what is even going on over there?
My backpack on.
Totally.
I think
your Superman lunchbox.
He could fit in pretty well. I think you'd slide right into maybe not quite elementary, junior high. I'll give you junior high.
Oh my!
Let's keep it at senior high.
Okay. 14 or 15,
but it less weird.
Yuri, nice to meet you. I've never met you or chatted with you. I always watch your videos, so it's awesome to be on here with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So we have a question from the audience right away.
Awesome.
If you guys want to jump in, unless there's something that's on your guys' mind. Any thoughts? Any questions? Anything that you're wondering about? Jump in. Okay, here we go.
All right.
Kabam. Here we go. As his teachings are often quoted by military and civilian leaders, not specifically for the direct military tactics, but more so a way of thinking and living, what made Sun Tzu so revolutionary? Was he truly revolutionary in the tip of the spear, or was he just the smartest to write those thoughts down? So that's the first part. Let's discuss that part, and then we'll get into the follow-up. Who wants to jump on that first?
I don't mind jumping in real quick, just to, I don't know, not set the stage, but at least an interesting thought. Yep. So Sun Tzu, of course, read pretty much everything he's put out. I've got a couple of his books laying around, and in fact, if maybe I've got the time while someone else is talking, I'm not going to bother. There's a magazine article from the Canadian military when I was out on my Army sniper course, and there was a combat reporter there, and they were going around and asking the troops what their thoughts were on what it means to be a sniper. And nobody was really coming up with much. And one of the DS or directing staff pointed the reporter over to me and said, "Go talk to that guy." And I was a sergeant at the time. And they said, "What does it mean for you to be a sniper?" And I just quickly rattled off and I paraphrased Sun Tzu. And it goes along the lines of this: he who is prudent and patiently waits for an enemy who is not shall be victorious. And so that's a loose paraphrase, but essentially what it meant to me was patience will show you everything.
Yeah.
And so it worked for me as a sniper. It works in a number of different careers. It works in a lot of life. But as I was reading Sun Tzu back then, and even to this day, is anyone really sure that Sun Tzu wrote that? Or is it just a case of Sun Tzu was having a coffee with a dude one day and overheard him say it, and Sun Tzu was just the accumulator of wisdom who then had the wherewithal to be able to capture it for the rest of humanity on written paper? And so neither one matters to me. It doesn't matter if he invented it or if he just heard it and wrote it. Neither matters. The fact remains that it is out there and it is so valuable. But it's just the thought, was he a super smart guy or was he a super smart listener?
Yeah. I've heard a number of things stating that perhaps that he wasn't actually even one person, like that he was multiple people that they came together. Yuri, man, what do you got?
Okay, first of all, we even don't know it's a real man.
Yeah.
because now historian can't even say it was really China's leader, military warlord, or it's just some gathering person from. But first of all, Sun Tzu it's a way of China's world civilization. And what we can see from Sun Tzu's thoughts that it's old sentence, wars never changed. So from five age before 7,000 ages, 7,000 years before us, the war was pretty the same that now. And with this thing, I always hear, oh, it's a new war, or it's a new war. I don't really see nothing new now to compare from, for example, First World War. The only thing that really changed, it's a nuclear weapon. The rest, in First World War, in Great War, some use television cameras on balloons, on big static balloons. Like now we use the Bayraktars or another flying component of reconnaissance.
Yeah.
Really, if you find the same in situation, you can find all what you need in Sun Tzu, I forget this guy, this war theoretic von Clausewitz, European great war theoretic, a real man, by the way.
Yeah.
But it's just a gathering of experience of European or China's war. Yeah, and if we describe these two concepts, China's concept is more complex. They say not about the situation, but also about the situation where war did not begin or over, and what benefits you have from your war, from your take part into the war.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's it's very similar to a lot of people who've just gathered a ton of knowledge. Zach, you got any thoughts on this?
From my perspective, I think it is just what made him so revolutionary is I think he's relatable from a metaphorically perspective. So, if you're a small business, how do you look at Sun Tzu and the art of war and his principles and strategies and apply them in everyday perspectives? So let's just say as being a human being, discipline, instead of focusing on so many things, being present and just narrowing and completing a task. I think it's applicable today and for tomorrow.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The real benefit is being able to understand it, right? That's the key for this, and we've said this before, is that maybe all this knowledge, none of it's really new. It's just on how it's interpreted. And the point you made, Yuri, about war never changes. It's the weaponry changes, sure, but war, it's pretty much the same across the board. Shaun, you got something?
Yeah, I do. I was hoping to key in on the revolutionary part, but Zach beat me to it. So I agree. The key to Sun Tzu being revolutionary, maybe it was more revelationary, is that he. I think it was just said that he gave simple advice, or he gave advice that was approachable. Whereas I think the real secret to Sun Tzu, or the real magic behind his writing, is it might appear simple writing, but it isn't. It's so simple that you can, if you give it zero thought, you can think, he who is prudent patiently waits for an enemy who is not shall be victorious. Oh, patience. Oh, I got to be patient. Okay, time to carry on with my day. and that's the extent of the thought that you give to it. Or you can spend an entire year thinking about that sentence. It all depends on how deep you want to go down the rabbit hole, baby. And so I think one of the revolutionary pieces about Sun Tzu is that it's simple enough writing that it can encourage you to see it for less simple writing. It can be really complex writing, even just a simple sentence. So that's where I find it to be a different form of writing. Up until maybe over the last 10, 15 years, there's been lots of efforts to sort of mimic in a modern sense. But I think that Sun Tzu's book was so universally spread around, certainly in the military, is because for certain levels of military, you can pick up that book and think, oh yeah, got to be patient. Check. And then, obviously it was mandatory reading within certain leadership academies and et cetera in different armed forces. And at those levels where perhaps someone can think a little bit deeper or complex, or intellectualism is a little more rampant, then that simple sentence of be patient can be extrapolated out into something much more nuanced and revelationary, so that it can be impactful across a much broader team. So I believe it was an important book for its style and how it can be approachable from the guy in the trench all the way up to the leader of the combat arms.
Yeah, I agree. The one of the things I really liked about Sun Tzu, first off, The Art of War, as well as the Book of Five Rings, was the fact that it was a lot of open-ended statements, right? And like you said, you can dive into them all you want, right? If you want to get deep into it, you can get deep into it. Yeah, what do you got?
I don't know really, but I believe it was James Bradley who says is a very simple thing. Find the enemy, hit with all your power, and keep moving. So on this simple thought, Sun Tzu is even too complex for many military officers. That's because in his you can't gather so many power on your bank and just smash your enemy with simple things. You need to think how to take. If you read clearly, you can take his power, his mind, his initiative, his landing, and it's a different things. So maybe it's also for us fresh information, because we now on our war we have enemy that in our on our level of technical, of military power, of economy power, and we can't just smash him with just simple things. We need to learn and need to be clever than they. Or if we lose.
Yeah, fighting a near peer is never easy when you have similar technology, similar stuff, similar gear. When all of it's the same, that's when the nuance starts to play into it. So let's think about the second question here, which is follow up to that. Who is a modern day Sun Tzu to you, and why? Let's dive into that one. Zach, I'm going to throw you on the fire. You're going to go first.
Folks of the collective.
And why?
I say it every day. It's amazing to see the resources that the collective brings, not just to the military community, but to people in general, like everyday civilians like myself, learning from you guys tactics and applying them to real world situations. Even it doesn't have to be business, but it can just be communicating with others, waiting, patience, timing, when to give it your all, when not to. It's beautiful to hear you guys. So it's definitely the collective, the modern day.
I like it. Shaun or Urij, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't mind throwing my 2 cents in, and thanks for saying that, Zach, because I was kind of feeling the same way, but I didn't want to say it. What I was gonna, if I had to take the mic first, I was gonna lead in with this, that my modern day Sun Tzu is the interwebs. And I'm responsible to read the book in a way that makes me more effective. That's for sure. But it just so happens that the collective manages to collect the kind of people that I want to learn from, and doesn't necessitate. It isn't necessary for me to go out and find them on my own. I mean, we're finding each other in a weird way, and it makes my life a whole lot easier to be able to go to not just a single source, but go to a source that provides so much knowledge to me. So I really like what the collective has got going on.
I like that.
Well,
yeah, Yuri, what do you got?
About me, I certainly read a lot of books. I read now and some field manuals, some technical manuals about the weapon tactics, hand-to-hand combat, because it's now is part of my life. It's my job, and but with that I read a lot of war memoirs, and what I figure out, we have a lot of it's not I just said, maybe you don't agree with me, but we have a lot of memoirs, the Navy SEALs who killed some Afghan guys or Taliban guys or easy guys, but we really don't know about the memoirs from another side of this war. I just find, the general who was killed by drone in Iran. I forgot. Guy who was was chief of special forces of Basiji, Iranian military. And what was interesting, when he remembering his war, his part in war, they do the same thing as we. They also do recon. They also gathering, firing some grenade launchers and machine guns, and they also got special troops for fighting into trenches, and it also very interesting. But what about collective? We need to get right questions. As for me, as a person, I like to bring some my ideas and get to the guys from collective, to the Chance, to the Shaun, and listen what they think about my thoughts, because it's maybe the same thoughts as mine, but from another perspective, from another level of experience. I think that it's the man. And if someone who watch us, if you want to give some question, don't be shy. It's I think we have professionals here who can answer on any of your question. Maybe it was answer that you don't like, but it definitely was a true answer from good professional guys with good experience.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man, because this is my entire goal when I'm scheduling people is to just bring a new level of experience, a new level of a new outlook, a different viewpoint, different whatever, so that we can actually discuss these things, because it's the only way we bring these things into the light. And really, my answer is pretty simple. I think the modern day Sun Tzu is Jocko, because I believe that Sun Tzu probably over time became an amalgamation of information, similar to extreme ownership, right? He says many times that none of this is new. None of this stuff that he invent, and he's just writing it down. That's the simplest way that he knew how to do it. I find that the probably the most reasonable answer to any type of leadership or tactics or anything like that is that it is an amalgamation, and then we can all figure it out for ourselves, because that's what we have to do. We got to figure out how to apply it. That's the true test of any sort of information, is it can it be applicable to everybody, and then go from there. So I think that's where I would go. Yeah, and add to your point, Yuri, if anybody got questions out there, shoot them to us. Put them in the comments. Hit me up in the DMs, whatever you got. Oh, excuse me, and we'll discuss.
Speaking of, by the way, over the last, I'd say, week and a bit, I've had a couple of comments, and what they've been. The general theme is this: any DMs that you get, Chance, or any comments or whatever, put up more. Like, let people understand the level of interactivity that is going on, and don't feel like you have to flash up a good morning, gents, for about 0.5 seconds so that I've got to try to register what it is. I mean, you can leave things up hanging around for a little while, is the comment that I was given.
I like it. For sure. Speaking of which, there was a great comment that came in that we should probably discuss right here. The best leaders don't give you answers, but the tools to ask the questions. You think that's an accurate statement?
I do.
Does it need any development? Anybody got any thoughts on this in general?
Yeah, sure, I do.
Well,
if you leave it up,
I'm going to leave it up. I'm not touching it. Look, hands up. See,
I think that is a really classic statement. Of course, it doesn't apply to everyone at every time on every location. These are all contextual, and they're based on when a good leader thinks is the right time to do the right thing. And a good leader will know when and with who and why. So it's not always 100% given that there's this cookie cutter solution of you're always going to be given the tools. You're always going to be given the it's always going to be this. That's not the way it is. That's not what a good leader does. But generally speaking, I agree with this comment, and I would say that if you're young in the game or new in the game, and you've got you recognize the great leader in front of you, whoever that is, it's your master corporal, it's your sergeant, it's your warrant officer, it's whatever, and they're not doing it the way that you read it here. They're always giving you the answers, and you don't feel like you're being given any tools. Well, maybe that's just the right thing to do at that time for you, because you just got out of basic training. And so there is a unfolding of responsibility that is given to you so that you can go out and kind of screw up things a little bit, but not go out and screw up things too badly. And so with each individual, depending on the phase of their career and their peanut, you can interact with them in this manner as the preferred manner, but that isn't always the case.
Yeah. Yuri, you had a point?
Yep, of course. So I don't remember, do I say to you, but I have some practice in Zen, in Buddhism practice. So here are two ways to go to the higher level of your religion skills, I would say it so. One of them, you be into the like a monk, to some closed some castle or cave or something else. You don't see another people. You just pray and do your practice. And another way, you just live into your real life, but your teacher give you some mind questions. If you see movies with Bruce Lee,
don't look at the moon.
Yeah. But the first it was you all hear the sound of two palms, but how did sounded one palm thing, one palm slap, and someone always say it's a slap on your face, and there is no right answer. The way how you to get into this problem and deal with them, it's the main. The main thing it's your own experience and what you give for this. And at the end of the your practice, you must answer immediately. The main thing there that it's when you say immediately, it's your own answer, not answer of some great man, great teacher, great warrior. It's your answer. And what's the main thing here with you guys that you answered with your experience of life. Yeah, you have some military some bases, but you throw it from all your life, and now you can answer with from your heart, from your mind, and again, it's there is no simple answers. We can take out our mind and give to someone. We must to teach this person to think in right way.
Yeah, 100%. Zach, what do you got?
Well, I agree with you guys all on this, but my question to you is this: is how do we know who's the right leader, especially in this day and age? There's so much noise, especially on social media. Everyone's chanting that they're a guru of something. How do we not get tricked into following someone for the wrong agenda or the wrong purposes? Their own selfish needs.
That's a good question.
Well,
Shaun.
I've got two things that I'd like to say.
And I know.
So remind me that I've got a second thing to say.
Okay.
And it's in respect to tools. The first thing is, Zach, to your point, which I hadn't intended on touching on, but it's coincidence because just before I jumped onto this live, I was blipping with my buddy Seb Lavoie, and he'd sent me a WhatsApp message, and it was I'm not going to go into the details of it, but it was how we're both generally disappointed with people who are representing themselves as coaches out there, in the sense of day one, they show up to the start line called trying to do it better. You've never been a coach in your life, and now you're into the program of becoming a coach. And by day three, they're coaching, and they're putting their little shingle out there on the interwebs called "I'm coach, I'll coach you."
Well, not even just a coach, a life coach.
A life coach. Yeah. And if they know a guy who knows a guy who heard of a guy who may have been a special operator, now they're a coach who has coached special operators. And so all of a sudden you've got a guy who's representing himself as something that he's not, that he is incapable of doing, but more correctly, and perhaps the most importantly, is he's going to lead people astray, because the reason he started on day one and is now at day three is because he was astray. He joined up because he didn't have his act together of whatever program he's on. And 3 days later, he's trying to run the show with a new business called I'm a Life Coach. And I know a guy who was a special operator. And so it's a crazy world to me. I've been watching it for a long time, and it makes no sense. It's thoroughly frustrating, and I'm thoroughly disappointed with people who take that shortcut of a 2-day-long Sigma International coaching course, and next thing you know, And I
was
see
just
it
thinking that.
every single day.
Yep.
And I it's so crazy to me, but it is a problem. And how do you recognize when it's a guy who is doing this kind of thing? You got to ask around. If you can't figure out if it's legit or not, you got to ask around. And the other part is be patient. Like if you see a little Instagram ad pop up that says, for only $99, you can be a CEO in 7 days. Be patient. He who is prudent and patiently waits for an enemy who is not shall be victorious. So if you can just be patient a little bit, that business, that fool will disappear because they shortcutted their way in 2 days to think that they're now going to be Sigma International prime star. See you later. You won't be around in a year.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the experience, you don't have the wherewithal. You never started off with righteousness.
Yeah. And you know, you're so right on that. I was clearing out my junk mail in December from like 2015, 2016, some old personal email addresses. And all of a sudden I'm seeing these websites. I'm like, oh, okay. It said, yeah, you can do this with your life and create all this, whatever. I clicked on the website. They don't exist. They don't exist. They don't exist. I think there was like 20 of them. I said, wow. Imagine if someone had given them money and
people did.
Gone. Yeah, for sure people did.
What's the second thing you wanted to say,
right.
Shaun?
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. So, which is really, I guess, maybe why we're here, other than throwing the fools under the bus. So tools, one of the things that you can do as a leader in order to improve your troops, your section, your platoon, your company, whatever, is even if they just got out of basic training and they know next to nothing, one of the best tools you can give them is the tool called curiosity. And sadly, when you get out of basic training, when you're just a young buck, you don't have enough curiosity, because at least for me, in the infantry, it was pretty hard back in the day. I don't know what it's like now. And I mean, a hard leadership style. Yeah. Hopefully it's not quite as hard as it was back then.
It's not that hard anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard. And so curiosity was a thing that just wasn't like constantly happening all the time, because you're kind of constrained, man. There was boundaries, and you know, you were kind of, someone was always cracking you with a whip, and you didn't feel like you had much ability to explore or be really curious, because you were too busy being concerned about when the next whip crack was going to come, because you stepped half an inch over the line. And so it wasn't a very fruitful environment back then in respect to if you had a curious mind, which I did. And so I did a lot of push-ups. But nowadays, as a good leader, I think the tool of curiosity is something that you should be deploying not only constantly so that the troops can see that that's the right approach, but you've got to teach them not only through leadership by example, but literally teach them to become curious. And it's just not something. Hey, Chance, did you take a class called Curiosity 101 in the
No, I did not. No, I did not. No.
No.
You know, one of the the funny things about this, the question that you asked, Zach, my first thought was, watch them. That, like, if you are unsure of somebody's credentials or whether or not this person is a good leader, watch them. Just watch what they do and be patient, as Shaun said. But if you don't see what they do, that should tell you something, right? Because if they're not showing themselves, especially online, if they're not showing themselves doing the things that they're asking other people to do, they're not doing them. And they're not leading by example. So you need to be able to, if you're gonna,
empty advice.
Yeah, exactly. It's just people telling, and the point you made, Shaun, was the resurgence of coaching in general. I think it was seen as a quick, like, as an easy check mark. I can go on a 3-day course and I'll be a life coach, and then I get to tell other people to do
instead of myself
and make money doing it, right?
But that's the other thing is oftentimes you're making money doing that. The people that get this, and I know a few coaches personally that have become life coaches, and they're like, well, Zach, I'm not able to get any clients. It's like, well, any normal person will realize that, you're not. What is life? What is a life coach? Aren't we all on this journey? Like every day we're learning, unless you choose not to, right?
That's good.
How do you know life?
Interesting. I've never thought about it, Zach, but like I've been approached a lot about being a life coach, and no thanks. So only maybe for the right person or persons at the right time in history, which is not right now because I'm freaking busy. But I think about, as an example, it's quite on vogue, or at least it used to be at one point in Hollywood, where you had a life coach, or as a CEO, you've got a life coach, or as a in the C-suite, or in the command and control suite, in the senior leadership suite. Anyone who has an annual box office to all of the hockey games, we'll say, it's en vogue to have a life coach to some degree. And I think one of the reasons that maybe that happens is because along the way, at those, we'll call them higher levels, for lack of a better term, they become so isolated from their organization. They become so insular or insulated from the day-to-day interactions with what we'll call quote unquote regular people that are working within the organization, that they disconnect from how to interact because they're not in the trench, digging the trench with their trench partner for 2.5 days and getting to know another human being in a way that is actually meaningful. And so an amount of people in leadership positions, or in positions of, we'll call them authority or power or money or influence, got there because at one point perhaps they had to insulate themselves from all of the white noise around them in order to stratospherically climb to CEO of whatever massive corporation. And now, 10 years ago, they stopped talking to human beings and getting to know them. They just became about the spreadsheet, the drive, the numbers, the deliverables, the milestones, and all of that stuff. And the last time they said good morning to the guy who opened their door was 10 years ago. Yeah. And so they need to reconnect with society. They need to reconnect with humanity, and they need to reconnect with just how to do things better. And so the life coach comes along, and then depending on that life coach, whoever that guy is, maybe he or girl is, maybe they're a $10,000 an hour life coach, we'll call it. Save yourself $10,000. Go sit in a coffee shop for about an hour and see who hangs out in a coffee shop. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that if you've got a keen eye as a CEO, you should be able to identify an interesting looking character. And then go introduce yourself. Yeah. And congratulations, welcome back to humanity.
You made me think of this little story. Yuri, what do you got?
Yep. I have 3. It's from Zen Things. First of all, and you definitely like it. First of all, let's divide the teacher and idea. And there are 3 criteria. First of all, if idea don't give you some benefit from start to the end, it's a wrong idea. Second one, if teacher doesn't live in way how he teach, it's a wrong teacher. And third one, even right idea with right teacher, which practice in without right attitude, without right way, it's more dangerous than wrong idea. So that's all.
I dig
you
that.
Can,
yeah.
It's for everything, not only for religion, but for martial arts, for life and another. See, this man see it, look at his idea, and see it yourself. If you have some benefit with this thing, that's okay, and you must practice like this man called, like man talk to you. That's all.
Yep.
All simple.
Yeah, it is pretty simple when you it's a simple concept, but
Simple to
difficult
say.
simple to say, difficult to master. It's hard. And I got this
something facta non verba something.
That's right. And you know what? If you live your life looking to be better, it's a great statement. Live your life looking to be better every day. Cool. How do you actually do that? How do you physically act on that? Well, you have to find something to be better at specifically, and then work on that, and then fail a whole bunch of times, and continue to work on that until you feel that you are better. And then you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah, you do have to find a thing. That thing's called life.
Yeah.
But if you can't wrap your head around that just yet, go find a singular thing.
Yeah.
Which is called, I don't know, or lawn bowling, or throwing darts, or making cakes, or driving a car, or flying a kite, or making paper airplanes, or writing a novel, or whatever. Find a thing that allows you to relearn how to do the game of life.
Yeah.
And then as you're learning, making mistakes, enjoying, not enjoying, all of that stuff, as you relearn that process again, just understand that whatever it is, if you're learning how to fly a kite, that's just learning how to fly life, man. So every day that you're trying to learn something new or new-ish, and you're having those little, oh, wow, yeah, look at me go. That's life, man. You just forgot how to do it for your whole life. Every aspect of your life, every single second, every single day. You've just forgotten. The flying the kite thing, that, whoa, look at me go. It's 100 feet in the air. Yes, I'm flying. That's called life. Yep. Just go do it every day.
We do it so naturally as children too, right? We just,
buddy.
We fall right into it. Like, oh, that looks cool. And you're in. And you're, oh, I'm going to go do that. Oh, that looks cool. And you're going to go do that. And now you're like, it becomes this very, very simple, continual growth process as children. And then I think there's a point where I can't say we stop doing it. I think we stop allowing it to happen. We thinking, I'm going to learn this. And you like rigidly follow that path versus just, oh, that looks cool. And you wander in and talk. And similar to what you were saying, Shaun, about, walk into a coffee shop, find somebody that looks interesting, introduce yourself, have a conversation. That used to happen all the time.
All the time.
And think about how kids make friends. They just wander over, what is that guy doing? He's playing on the playground. Whoa, cool. And you're like, hey, man, you want to play? Cool. Yeah, let's do it. It literally is that simple, but easy to say, difficult to master. Do you think that there's something, and maybe as you mature, that starts to slip away, or do you think it's more systemic in like how we're raised in the Western world?
I'm just going to say this, and I'm not going to say much because I don't want to spoil it, because I think we need to talk about it in a future, the collective.
I'm going to write it down, as you said.
You will need to, because we're going to need to do it. You'll just have to figure out how to not block us when you're showing the videos. And it is, last night I watched the interview with Garand Thumb and Christian Craighead.
Yep.
And some guys did you watch it yet, Yuri?
A little.
Okay.
But,
I won't. I'm not going to spoil anything. Yeah. I'm not going to spoil anything for anyone.
Okay.
All I'm going to, by spoiler, I mean, go freaking watch it today. I mean, please. The reason that I really enjoyed that interview is because it showed a different side of Obi-Wan Nairobi, and like really different side. But here's what I took away from it. I was like, what? Is that dude me? What is even going on right now? Because as he was telling his story, like I was that kid. I mean, he was talking about when he was running around with his Rambo knife, like humming the movie music soundtrack in his head as he was ducking and dodging behind the trees and playing the game as he was 11 years old. Dude, I was doing all of the things that he said. I was doing all of those things because that's what felt right to me.
Yeah.
And so why I raised that point is you got to understand who you are.
Yeah.
He knew who he was. I knew who I was. I didn't get in my way. I just got on with doing me. And it didn't matter if anyone understood it or not. Yeah, wild geese, buddy. One of my fave moves back in the day, for sure. Richard Burton, etc. And so that's who I was. That's what I did. I didn't question it. I just did it. And it's fascinating to me that all at nearly 60 years of age, watching this thing last night and listening to him talking about how he was a kid running around with his Rambo knife, I was like, man, I can't believe other people did that kind of stuff. So it was amazing to hear it from him because he's super legit, of course. And so I would encourage anyone to go listen to that interview. And then once the interview's finished, some point in the interview, stop and think about who you were when you were 11 and what excited you. And are you still in touch with that kid? Because, I mean, I'm still the kid running around hunting squirrels. You know what I mean? That's who I am. That's what I do. And I still think that there's a part of me that is John J. Rambo. I mean, I can't lie about it. That's just how my peanut works. As a quick aside, just a few days ago, I was into our local grocery store called Ferrar's here in Rossland. And one of the guys who works there, he's a real good guy. I won't give his name. Every time we talk, pretty much briefly, we don't get into each other's business. But he said, hey, I was listening to your live chat the other day. I didn't realize you grew up in Grand Cache in Alberta. And I said, yeah, I did. And he said, wow, man, Grand Cache is like the Hope, BC. It's like the Hope of Alberta. And Hope, BC, of course, being the reference to John J. Rambo. And that's where John did his thing. And I said, yeah, you know what? You're right. Grand Cache, where John J. Rambo would have been if he was in Alberta. And he said, yeah, man, like I was listening to that, I was thinking, you're freaking John J. Rambo. And I looked at him, I said, yeah, I am. See you later, pal. And that was it. But that's how I feel, man. That's how I feel.
Yeah. That child sometimes goes away. We got a great comment here. It says,
what do you mean it goes away? For who? Not for me.
Not for you. It says, it gets discouraged in adults.
Oh, I see. Okay, this is the carry on. Gotcha.
I get that gentle criticism sometimes from people near me. You always throw yourself at new things and never stick with anything for very long. And I think that's where there is a lot of that gentle criticism, and it is a criticism that, oh, well, you need to focus. You need to work on school. You need to know what you want to do in life. And, one of the questions I ask my kids all the time is, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it keeps changing. And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, that could be fun. Oh, yeah, that'd be fun too. Okay, cool. Because for me, I want to show my kids that whatever, do something, just pick something, go at it. But when I was a kid, people asked me, what do you want to be? And if I said something different from the previous time, I would get a lot of this of, oh, well, I thought you wanted to be a ... Haven't you done the ... whatever it was I said last time, right? And you're like 6, you're like 7. You're gonna make life choices as a 7-year-old? Come on, like that's just you gotta. It's more about being open. But I heard that as a kid quite a bit. I could see a lot of people getting told that, and just having your dreams kind of filtered, focused to a point, and then all that extra stuff that you thought about would slowly fade away. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I put up a clip on my Instagram stories yesterday, and it was from the airborne down in the U.S., and it was it showed the troops just rifling out the
saw that. That was cool.
out the side door. I mean, hustling, warp factor 3 straight out the exit. Sorry, I'm speaking about parachuting to anyone who is unfamiliar. And so you can go, it's probably still up on my Instagram stories right now. So what I almost said in that that little clip, instead of saying, live life to your maximum effort kind of thing. Here's I was trying to keep it helpful. But here's thinking when I first saw that clip before I put it up on my Instagram stories. As I watched those troops go out the door, that's exactly what I was thinking in math class. Anytime someone said, "Hey, Shaun, what's 1 + 1?" I was like, I don't freaking care.
You're like feet and knees together.
Dude, you bore me to tears.
Yeah.
And all I could think of was like, I just want to get after it. And this sucks. So I was what I was, and I am who I am. And I'm not saying that I'm like, got anything figured out. I'm not a great person to hang out with. I just am what I am. And I didn't fight it. And in high school, everyone put me to sleep. I was too busy being focused on what I thought would be Radmaster 9000. And math is the last thing that I wanted to do. And so, you got to know who you are. And to Gerben's point is, if you're always throwing yourself at new things and they don't stick around for long, then you haven't sat down maybe long enough to think about what you can engage with long enough, because it speaks to you for long enough that you can commit to it for a long time. And so that's why I've said in the past that I'm careful with the new things that I take on, because I know myself. I know who I am, and I know what I do when someone says, "Hey, Shaun, could you look at maybe gathering us all together a little bit better across Canada?" I've got to take a moment to think about that, because I know myself.
Yeah.
If I say yes, it's freaking on like Donkey Kong. I mean, mission, men, me.
Yeah.
And that's the way I've always been. And so for you, Gerben, I don't know if you know who you are at your core, but if you're a person who like commits, then you should be finding it easy to commit to whatever you're doing. You shouldn't be like in for 2 weeks and then backing out by week 3. That's not how I do things, but maybe that's how you do things. So maybe you've got to take time to think about maybe dabbling a little bit with things, feels right, and maybe on your 10th dabble, something does one of these, oh, I like that. And now you felt it, and now you can get after it. But I don't think anyone should be comfortable with the pattern of dabbling and kicking out, dabbling, kicking out, dabbling, kicking out, as if that's normal, because it ain't. It's just normalized. So don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on the process. Don't think that just because 9 times that's how it's played out for you, that the 10th time is going to play out. But you have to go in full well knowing that you're mission focused, committing to. So give it your all and see how it plays out, see how it feels. And if on that 10th time it feels like, oh yeah, this is me, then grab your freaking Rambo knife, run around in the forest, play the music in your head, and have fun doing the thing that is speaking to you. I hope that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah, I love the idea of dabbling with a purpose. Don't just dabble for the sake of dabbling, but if you want to try a bunch of stuff, try a bunch of stuff. Go for it. Try it. And
don't lose your inner child.
Exactly. Yuri, you got a point?
Yep.
What do you got?
What I want to say is that you must understand that discipline, it's thing when you do something what you don't like to get something what you would like. And for this perspective, for example, whatever you choose as your way of life, you stick with things which you don't like. It's a real life. You don't like get up early. You don't like to do the job, maybe to get more money. You don't like to take some damages of your health to get bigger mastering in martial arts and all the things as saying Buddha first, his say the life is struggle, but we pass the struggle, we get something what we need to, we want to have, to get, and it's fair, because of this life is fair. You can't, like in computer game, you don't just buy 100 level of your skill. You must practice a lot. You must take mistakes,
Yep.
go through it, and go to your dream. So as Shaun say, just find your idea, your goal, and go to your thing. And if you look it's wrong way for you, okay, find the another way. But thinking about this, you need discipline to get something.
Absolutely. Kind of Sarah, you brought that up too, because I was just explaining that to my kids this morning as I was driving them to school. I was like, if you really wanted to, what happens if you eat chocolate all the time, every day? And they were like, well, I don't really want chocolate right now. And I had the whole discussion of, okay, what is it you want right now? Right. But eventually it came out to, if you eat a bacon poutine every day because you love bacon poutine, well, then you're going to have to deal with consequences of that. But if you're disciplined about it and you have a bacon poutine maybe once a month, then that becomes a reward for the discipline. And I had to sit them down while we were driving. I was like, so, every stripe that you've gotten on your jiu-jitsu belts, how did you get that? And they were like, well, I went to class. I'm like, yeah. And there were days that you didn't want to go to class, right? And they were like, yeah. And I'm like, and you still went to class, didn't you? Yeah. Like, that's how you work it. All right. If you really love something, there's going to be days that you don't really feel like doing it, but you do it anyway. And you just keep doing it to give you the thing that you love.
And as a good leader, which is the position that you were in there, as you're having that conversation with your boys, especially at that age. I know I was there myself. There's going to be days that they don't even want to go. They don't want to find their gi. They don't want to put their gi on. They don't want to card. They don't want to put their stupid little iPad down or whatever. There's going to be those days. And there's sometimes it's your job to look at them and say what? That was an optional. Go get squared away. And I mean, you say it nicely, but there's days when you need to do that. And then there's days when you need to look at them and say, okay, so you don't want to go? Cool. What are the consequences of that? Let's talk about that. What is that going to cost? What is it going to cost you? What is it going to cost us? What is it going to cost your team? What is it going to cost the future? And help them understand not just the fact that it's a day in isolation that only impacts them in that moment. It's literally this. That's what you're teaching. You're teaching that mission has the priority. And as the leader, you're going to put your men before you, of course.
Absolutely.
And then when all of that is taken care of, then you can worry about whether your iPad is charged up or not. And so how to teach that to kids is unique in every moment based on the kid and et cetera. But it's the same thing as trying to teach it to the troops, a 25-year-old man who still needs to learn those things because his parents never taught him. So any dads out there with young kids or whatever the case is, if you're struggling, well, make it a righteous struggle, man. Do better in the moment for your kids, but do better in yourself so that you can learn how to become a more effective leader. If you can't lead your dog, you can't lead a platoon.
Yep, that's what it comes down. Yeah, Urij. Giver, what do you got?
A short story from my life. I started I get to the sport gym in my 6 years. And I get to the sambo section, I training, and as you train 1 year, 2 year, and on third year, you know everything about the sport. You know everything, takedowns, everything, exercise, you know everything. You know everything about your maths on your gym. You know everything. So about 11 years old, I started to slow down. I don't want to go to the training because I know everything. And once I say to my mother, I say, okay, I can't go to the training because I don't take my home exercise from the school. She say, no, you training. And I say, but in this way, I can't do my homework. She say, okay, no problem, go to training. And when I went to home, I see that she do my homework for me. And I understanding that I have no option. And I very appreciate for her because maybe from this point I understanding that I don't study already this way of martial arts with this training, with this trainer, with this instructor. But for now till now I go through the way of martial arts because she show me the priority of the mission.
Yeah.
And from another thing, when one Japanese instructor go to our to Ukraine, I have some speaking with him as translator, and he say, you know, in our dojo, you have one day in a month that you can, without some says, skip the training, one training a month. You can go to the training, but once a month you can just don't leave to the gym. And what interesting, when guy have this opportunity, they came to the gym because they haven't. Why I must spend? I like the training, so I go. If I skip the training, is something or with me or with my with this type of martial arts. Maybe I just leave this dojo and this training and go to someone else.
Yeah. You know, this is the trick: is that the priority is figure out what the priority is. Once you know the priority, it becomes the whole thing. I love training. So we're just over an hour now. I really
we are.
Say really appreciate you guys. Zak,
thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's been awesome. Shaun, as always, thank you for being here. Does anybody have any quick final points before we shut her down? I'm going to go through the list. Zak, you got any final points? Anything that's coming to mind?
Wishing everyone a great weekend. Keep coming back.
There you go. Yuri, final points?
Thank you. I'm very glad to meet with Zak, and he's interesting. He has an interesting point. He didn't talk too much, but he make right questions for another guys.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Very appreciate to Shaun and Chance. Love you guys, and life is good.
Yeah. Shaun, final points?
Yeah, I agree with Yuri. You know, Zak bringing that quiet heat, or maybe Zak's younger brother bringing the quiet heat. Good to see you, pal, of course. Good to see you, Yuri, of course. And thanks, boys, for bringing out enough points that we can have enough of a conversation to barely scrape the surface yet again.
This is the whole point of the collective, that we can all discuss things and allow them to then seep into our brain and figure out how we're going to apply them to our lives, just like we were talking in the beginning. And I'm going to leave us on a quote from Sun Tzu, because we started on Sun Tzu, and that is, if you know your enemy and you know yourself, then the outcome of 1,000 battles will be known. So that's not the exact quote because I couldn't remember at the last minute, but that's the general gist of it.
Generally
speaking,
within the hand grenade range.
Hey, man, when it comes to explosives, you just got to be close. That's what it is.
That's right.
All right, everybody, appreciate you joining us. If you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe and like and hit the notification bell so you can be in the game whenever we should go up live, which happens every day, where we learn, build, and grow together here on the Collective. We'll talk to y'all later. Chimo.